So as Gleb said, I am the director of data science at Patreon. I'm going to be talking about Patreon's journey of trying to scale data discoverability as the company has been growing rapidly, and we continue to have a pretty small data science team to support the whole company. So first, just a little bit of context on Patreon and what we're trying to do. Our mission is to fund the creative class, and we think about that as making it so that every creator in the world can make a living from their art directly from their fans via membership. So you may know, if you're a patron on Patreon, or if you know some creators on Patreon, that we have a membership product where, if you're a big fan of Ben Folds, you can pay him $5 a month, $10 a month, and get amazing exclusive live streams and music downloads and a lot more in exchange for your membership. And as a result, hopefully Ben Folds can make money and not have to do as many brand deals or rely as much on advertising or streaming revenue, which generally don't give as much money directly to creators. So the kinds of data we're working with are payments data, as well as general mobile app data like conversion rates and traffic, and then lots of content data, images, posts, videos, audio, tons of user-generated content from creators and their fans. So the team as a whole, right now we have around 300 folks on the team across the globe and 11 data science people supporting that. And we have a full stack data science team. So everything from analytics to data science to machine learning engineering, ops, and BI. And for about 2 years, we've been pretty focused on scaling data discoverability. And so we've been working on this problem for 2 years when we realized, well, the company is growing faster than our data team can support them with all their data questions. So we really need some systems in place to help with this. And there's a pretty wide variety of teams trying to discover data at the business. We have a large go-to-market team with marketing and brand folks. We have a large product and engineering team with about 10 product pods. And then, of course, folks on legal, finance, all the other functions in the company. So I'm going to define a little bit of what I see as the challenge here. I use the metaphor of Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill because Sisyphus is generally your data team, and that boulder is things like the constant questions from across the company. Is there an existing dashboard where I can see the breakdown by country of all our creators? Is there a dashboard where I can see how many creators members support on average? Do we know what % of members support multiple creators versus one creator? These are all questions we've gotten in the last 2 months, and these are all available in dashboards across the company, but it's really about how do people find those dashboards, right? They're looking at pinned dashboards in Mode. Maybe they're finding a recent analysis. So I'm not talking as much here about self-service, which I think is a whole other bag of worms, where people are doing their own analysis. I'm really talking about the challenge where you have a ton of data assets, dashboards, analyses, insights, models, and you want your company to find and understand them and use them to make decisions. The other problem we started to have where I really noticed that this was something we're solving is I heard things directly from data scientists like, I'm being too reactive, or I didn't get done any of the work I planned today because I spent the day helping to answer data questions, or I wish I could work on bigger analytical projects, which of course is the dream. You hire these really smart people, these data scientists, you want them to be working on rigorous, methodologically challenging analyses. So here's the approach I've taken and the work we've done at Patreon, and it's very much still a work in progress. So I'm excited to chat in the panel potentially about some of the other ideas that people have about this. The first, of course, as data scientists, is to start measuring. And I don't mean measuring in a super discrete quantitative way. I mean just like being aware of the problem and how big it is. So here's what our retro looks like for the team. Every 2 weeks, every member of the data science team says what they accomplished, what their priorities are for the next 2 weeks, and then any call outs on what they expected to do versus what they actually did compared to the previous week's priorities. And this is a time where data scientists can say, hey, I worked on some unexpected work. And some of that might be not related to data discoverability, like, some urgent request came up, but often it's related to like helping people find what they need. The second thing here is to not just point people to the dashboard. I think that often if someone asks a data discoverability question, it's very tempting to just throw them a dashboard link and go on from there. I often feel like this dog in the P.D. Eastman book, Go Dog Go, if you read this in your young years, where this dog goes up and says, do you like my hat? And then this other dog the entire time goes, no, I do not like your hat. And I sometimes feel like that, where I'm like, do you like my dashboard? Look, I have this perfect dashboard for you. And they're like, no, it doesn't really help solve my problem. So really not trying to train people to just, receive a dashboard link from a data scientist or a data person, and really instead try to push them to a behavior where they are going into the space where they can find that for themselves. The third is to build thoughtfully and reference frequently. At Patreon, as I mentioned, we've been thinking about this sort of data discoverability problem for a few years, and we've really started very basic with a paper doc called Data Resources at Patreon, where we collated the most important resources and questions across the business and organized them by theme. So if you had a list, if you wanted questions about our KPIs, or if you had questions about our creators, you could find that there. And I think the reason it's important to start with this is, there are many tools today, and I think it can be very sexy to adopt a tool and, throw all the data consumers in your org into a tool. But many people may not find that as friendly as going to a place and a UI they're already familiar with, whether it's Google Docs or Paper Docs or some sort of Slack FAQ. So we started Paper Docs, and this has been very successful. About hundreds of people across the company use this on a weekly basis. The second thing is really trying to collate everything in one place. I think that data discoverability and really data science can die in DMs. This is the part where I've really started to see the scale break, because you have data scientists that people are used to going to for their questions, and then you have more people join the company and they sort of learn that behavior. And so then you just have your data scientists receiving DMs about data questions all day. So we've started to make these public channels. This is a data manager on my team, Kenna, who said, hey, in an effort to make easier to find everything you're looking for, we have one go-to-market data channel, and it's public, and everyone in the go-to-market team, which is all of marketing, all of brand, all of account management, all of sales, is in there able to find the questions they're looking for. This helps too, because you often see a question that you might have, and then you can look at that question and see what the answer is, and again, create your own data education out of it. And then, of course, the third, as we've gotten more mature, is to adopt a catalog. And so we use Dataful to our catalog. I know there are a lot of solutions out there for data catalogs. And this is what this starts to look like. So you can look for our core tables within our catalog and see a list of all the core tables that power the majority of our analytics across the company. I'm very excited about sort of the future of the catalog, especially for helping data discoverability for engineers or for folks that are maybe not technical, but very data savvy. If they want to know what's the kind of data we log around currency on Patreon, or what's the kind of data that we have around location, you can just search for location and see all the location data tables. And then finally, don't feign surprise. This is important enough to me that it's actually a norm and a core behavior of our team. There's this great Julia Evans blog post. If you haven't seen it, it also comes from the Recur Center manual. And the idea here is you shouldn't act surprised when people say they don't know something, because it doesn't really help at all. It doesn't have any social or educational benefit. It generally makes people feel defensive and ashamed and somewhat stupid. So even if they ask, how many daily active users do we have? And that dashboard is very discoverable, or you just talked about it at all hands, or you literally just sent them the link yesterday, you don't say, how could you not know that? Because that doesn't create the kind of data culture that encourages questions and encourages folks to continue to ask. And I believe that if you start to stifle those questions, you end up with issues downstream, like people not going to a data scientist when they really do need help for a more challenging problem. So those are kind of the four things I've been working on. Oh, sorry. One more thing is that this still happens all the time at Patreon. Literally last week, my boss said, can you remind me, where can I find the full breakdown of creator categories? And of course, in my head, I was like, how could you not know this? We have this dashboard very readily available. That's not how I responded. I responded with hey, check out this mode link and go/categories. And then really dug into why didn't you self-serve on this? Why didn't you go to GoData or go into mode and look for this yourself? Really trying to get at the root of some of those usability problems of the tools that we do have. A few notes on sort of where I think this is all headed. We've started using the Lineage product and Dataful. And again, I know there are similar Lineage products and other tools. And this is amazing because you can sort of see a map of all your data, but I get really excited about data discoverability as a contextual system where you could say, okay, not only are these the tables, but these are the tables that describe our payments data. And upstream of that, you have all this user behavioral data that generates that payments data. And downstream of that, you have all those dashboards that read that data. And maybe in between, you have a metrics layer, which is, I know, is something we're going to talk about in the panel. And then maybe if you even have a list of questions that are commonly asked. So that if you're a new PM in the payments org, you just go into this contextual data discoverability ecosystem and can find everything you're looking for. And so at the end of Go Dog Go, the dog says, now do you like my hat? I have this big party hat. And finally, the other dog likes the hat. And this is sort of what I dream of, is being able to build at Patreon some sort of contextual data discoverability ecosystem so that eventually it is successful in helping everyone across the company use data very well. So that's it for me. Thank you all so much. And Gleb, I will pass it back to you.